my, it is August already, 2026. Can't believe it. It's going to be cold weather soon. Oh, I'm bringing out the Uggs and the pumpkin spice lattes. I have an amazing guest joining me on Poduty in the News. We're going to talk about 6 live news podcast stories about live podcasting recorded live. Sara Sheehan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm so glad to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you. We did all the prep work before I hit record, but I forgot one thing. I always ask my guests before I play the theme song, do you know what time it is?
You know what? I sure do. It's party time.
What time is it? What time is it? It's time for Poduty and the News. Poduty and the News. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the News. Poduty and the News. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Oh, the only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Sara Sheehan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. We met about a year ago. I was a guest on your podcast, and it was one of the most amazing guest experiences I've ever had. You were challenging what I was doing and building on, kind of the thought process I had. You gave me so many ideas just interviewing me and exploring like my passions and what I was interested in. The show's called Transformational Thinkers, and you transformed my thinking.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That is the biggest compliment, and I take it dearly. I so dearly appreciate that. I truly do want the experience on my podcast to be next level. I want people to walk away feeling I really put a lot of thought into how I wanted the conversation to flow and go, and that I want my guests to truly be spotlighted, to have areas of their life and business shown in a completely new way. If they're on a million podcasts, I want to ask them different questions, and I want to make it a unique conversation.
Yeah, 100%. It was so elaborate, so detail-oriented. I was immersed in participating. Like, I really had a great time, and it was really a great conversation. It's Transformational Thinkers. I think you can get to it right from Sara's website, sarawsheehan.com. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your consulting practice? You have some nice ways that you approach business consulting. You have some different strategies that you don't see from a lot of people.
Absolutely. I have over 30 years of experience practicing my craft, helping clients go through really difficult, complex projects. They work with me when it is a make or break transformation, and they really need their people to adopt new ways of working, take on new behaviors, and adopt change to make a project successful. It could be anything from a technology transformation. I've implemented SAP 19 times, outsourcing a global function, integrating an acquisition, doing global organization design, helping a client through custom application development, working with a client on AI adoption. I've done all kinds of projects. And at this point, I've worked across pretty much every major industry: consumer goods, life sciences, biotech, pharma, med device, telecommunications, financial services, high tech. I've done a ton of different types of industries and helped clients through some of the hardest projects of their career. What I do really sits at the intersection of strategy and people. I'm helping the client through the hardest project where they may be actually changing everything a person actually does. all of the systems that they go in, all of the processes that they touch, or it may be a very minor and simple change for a particular role. It varies greatly. But in terms of how I engage with clients, I do it in a variety of different ways in an advisory capacity, a fractional consulting capacity. If a client has a really, really hard project and needs full-time support, happy to talk about that as well. I have a course called Mastering Change Management that is a course that someone can take and sit for the Certified Change Management Professional exam. The course is offered in a variety of ways. There's a self-paced version that sits on my website that is 21 hours, and it's geared for a new professional that wants to learn how to lead change, or it could be a very seasoned professional that just needs continuing education credits. But outside of the self-paced version, you can also take that course in a live, remote fashion, or you can have live cohort for your company. And finally, I can customize the course for you, for your business and your project. I've gotten some really fantastic comments from participants of the course, and I'm super confident that anyone that invests in it will walk away with tremendous pragmatic knowledge that they can apply today.
That's incredible. SaraWSheehan.com. We'll have all those links in the show notes. Connect with Sara, reach out, just check out the website, skim through it, check out the course, check out the podcast, really build those connections with the guests that we're having on the show. And we'll have a special dedicated page over at news.poduty.com, which will have all of Sara's links, her bio, along with any episode, not only this one, but hopefully future episodes that Sara comes on, and you'll be able to connect with and find her all over there on the crew page. You're now being inducted into Poduty and the crew.
That's fantastic.
Well, are you ready for our first story?
Yes, I am.
And this is again about change. A lot of the stories that we're going to talk about are, institutional change, things that are happening. We obviously, AI is a big part of things. Media shifts are a big part of things. And these types of disruptions or change position you, put you in a position to really move your business to the next level. And how do you get there? Well, somebody like Sara will definitely help you know the path, know the way, know the direction that the wind is blowing, and get you there. And this is one of those media plays where you're seeing new media, old media, traditional media kind of merge into one thing and use different channels. And MSNOW is making a significant programming shift by replacing its live weekend evening lineup with video podcasts. The network will feature shows from its own personalities, including Nicole Wallace and Chris Hayes, while expanding a partnership with Crooked Media to air popular podcast brands like Pod Save America and Strictly Scrutiny. The move comes as MSNOW prepares to launch its first direct-to-consumer membership platform and follows strong early audience growth from its podcast programming, particularly among younger viewers. And we're seeing this a lot with traditional media embracing podcasting, whether it's a way to scale the media that they're producing, maybe it's a little bit more affordable, maybe it's meeting the demographic, it's meeting the people at how they want to consume media. So I think being proactive like MSNOW is they're trying to get ahead of this and try to maintain that loyal audience that's probably been slipping for 10 or 15 years.
Absolutely. I think they were pushed to a point of no return because audience numbers dwindled tremendously. They had huge issues with on-air talent. They were at a point of no return, essentially. So making a complete format change in this case makes a ton of sense. Let's take it off the table and completely change what we're doing. Using live podcasting, I think, is an absolute winner in a situation like this because you're going to completely rebuild interest and audience.
Yeah, you're filling those time slots. And most people aren't glued to the television like they were 20, 25 years ago. They're out and about, they're looking at their phones, they're checking media at work, on their lunch breaks, on their commutes. And this is kind of, you get home from the end of the day or on the weekend when you're not working, you want to sit down, you want to relax. And that type of content you're familiar with. If you know brands like Pod Save America, Strictly Scrutiny, now you can watch them live, watch the recording of the live video and see those people that maybe you only listen to as an audio podcast. Now you can see them on the big screen. You can see how they react with each other, how they react with guests, how they interview. And you really get to, I always say, you get to see how the sausage is made when you watch a podcast live as to just listening to the recording. And I think it's a win-win for for consumers to ingest that media on different platforms and really have some fun on a Saturday night.
Absolutely. And I would just offer they really did serve their audience well because they listened to the audience signal first. If you listen to what the audience is saying, you're going to come up with the right answer.
Yeah, I love that strategy. Well, I always often say go where the audience is when I talk about live events and conferences. But if you're a station and you need to bring people to you, give them what they're already consuming. Give them more of what they're already consuming and give it to them on the weekend, on the weeknights, where after hours they can just sit down, have an evening cocktail and just listen to a podcast or two live on the television.
Absolutely.
And going to our second story here, we have the Department of Labor is partnering because we know that AI is coming. There's a lot of people utilizing AI tools, some for the better, some for the, what are you doing is kind of the question that we ask sometimes. But there are some advantages, and the U.S. Department of Labor is partnering with learning platform Aris to help make AI literacy available to workers across America. During a live conversation at the 2026 ASU plus GSV Summit, Aris CEO Michael Loff explained how the program delivers short, mobile-friendly lessons designed to help people build practical AI skills. Instead of lengthy training sessions, the program focuses on bite-sized learning that can be updated in real time as AI technology continues to evolve.
This is a fascinating story. I think it's totally needed. This is something that a majority of the population needs, and the fact that they chose to do bite-sized learning modules, that is a huge winning strategy. But starting with AI literacy and giving people a common language and a common understanding around the tools and ideas for how to start experimenting if you're not already doing it is fantastic. And it sounded like reading the fine print on the story. There are some absolutely phenomenal organizations that are behind this effort. And so I would expect that he would have more courses than just this first one.
Yeah, and I love the delivery method here. They're announcing it at a conference. They're recording a podcast about what's going on with this app and how to take these AI notes. And then they're delivering it through mobile phones, right into the hands
It's amazing.
of the people who are most likely to use it. It's a very powerful, you wouldn't expect the U.S. Department of Labor to be so streamlined in its delivery. And I just thought were firing on all cylinders to really start to push this out there and get this into the public's hands.
Well, and I have said in the interview that the course does make real-time updates to content, which I think is phenomenal. I'd love to understand that more at a deeper level as a course developer myself. And he has very high engagement in the course and great numbers on application of knowledge and increased confidence using AI tools, which I think is great.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being the person in charge of keeping it updated. There's a new change every day. There's a new feature every day. There's a new system every day. But just being there and having something as a starting point for a lot of people some people who have only been hearing about AI for 2 years but never took any action. Well, this could be something that helps you skip to that front of the line, like it helps you clarify what all this AI stuff is. And for other heavy users, this could take you to the next level or show you something possible that you didn't even know was possible.
Right. It's a definite creating the common denominator across the world. It's incredible that it's so open and available.
Yeah, I was a big fan of everything about that story, from the delivery method to launching it at a conference, having conversations at a conference. And we're seeing that a lot more at conferences where podcasts are really becoming a form of entertainment.
Yes.
At the conferences. Where you used to see a panelist of 4 speakers who were probably, corporate executives from the title sponsor, doing a 2-hour panel where everybody's yawning and sitting through. You're now seeing these podcasts come in and be the entertainment, still delivering great information, but really entertaining the audience and pulling them in, making it so immersive that it's impossible to walk out of that room and not be excited about the future.
Mm-hmm. I think that the more people have the opportunity to experiment and understand the efficiencies that they can gain from using AI, the ability to up-level the quality of their work without losing authenticity, I think those kinds of learnings are really going to help us capture what is great about AI.
And that is the perfect segue. You must have been reading ahead. That's the perfect segue into our next story, where media leaders say AI should empower, not replace people. Variety recorded a live episode of its Strictly Business podcast during the Cannes Lions Festival, bringing together executives from Deloitte, AWS, and Sony Pictures Entertainment to discuss how organizations should approach artificial intelligence. Rather than viewing AI as a replacement for people, the panel encouraged leaders to embrace new technology by building AI literacy, solving meaningful business problems, and creating workflows where humans and AI work together. The conversation emphasized that successful AI adoption depends as much on change management and leadership as it does technology.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that more. I love the fact that they had such a diverse panel, and a lot of these live podcasts are sitting at the intersection of creativity, technology, and people. So I find that very fascinating. On the topic here, we definitely want to empower people and not replace them. When it comes to implementing AI within business processes in a company, you want to think about making sure that the people are focused on strategy and vision. They're focused on bringing great judgment. They are focused on managing and dealing with edge cases they may not have anticipated, or interfacing with customers and influencing the next sale. You can do bigger and better things if you're not focused on some of those mundane processes every day.
And look who's sitting down at the table, too. You have Deloitte, AWS, Sony Pictures. They're like, hey, this is something that we're embracing now. This is something we're using to put out tons and tons of programming, entertainment, different podcasts in some cases. And this is the future. And we're going to embrace it. We're going to empower people. And we're not going to replace them, but we're going to enhance their expertise. And that's a lot of times you'll hear people describe AI as having a superpower. If you're a good marketer and you tap into AI, you'll become a better marketer. If you're sending out emails and you have some understanding of the English language, you can be a much better email marketer by tapping into what you know and building those skill sets, building off of that. And it really is like the secret superpower.
Definitely. I think there's a ton of opportunity for people to consider how they may use AI in different ways. Like if they're focusing on editing a podcast or editing an article that they wrote, like a thought leadership piece. There are all kinds of tools that can level up what you're working on today and make it better than you ever dreamed just by trying and giving it a good prompt.
Yeah, there's so many ways to embrace it. If you're mediocre and not skilled and you try to use AI, you're just going to get more of that. But if you take what you're good at and you build off of it, you really can enhance yourself. 5, 6, 7 times more creative. Different ideas. You can riff different things and expand on your knowledge. Build off of what you know, and give it into the AI and give it back.
That's right. One of the things I did the other day is I took a set of meeting notes that I got from an AI tool, and I uploaded it. And then I uploaded the actual link to my podcast show, and I asked the AI to identify the right 2-minute clip for the person I was speaking with out of all of my podcasts. In a matter of seconds, it came back with the perfect clip based on my meeting with her. It edited it and provided it to me. I was able to then take it into another tool and do some minor edits for professionalism and provide it to her in literally seconds. It was amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And that's a great use of AI. It's a great way of building on your expertise of what you know and then isolating it and getting it out into the public faster, right? You could do that quick edit, do the turnaround, get it off to your people, and then get it published on social media and YouTube and or wherever you're going to publish it. But you couldn't, like 3-4 years ago, that was a week-long process or 2
Exactly.
weeks to get that clip. Now you have it the day you recorded the episode. You've got that clip isolated already.
It's amazing.
And keep it going with, we have some new technology. Here's a business that was looking for a service in their area. They couldn't find it, so they created the service that they need. And now they opened a podcast studio. This is a new content creation facility, is giving podcasters and businesses in North Wales a professional place to record, live stream, and produce video content. Dragon Forge Studios has opened in Mold, offering recording space, live streaming capabilities, production support, and flexible rental options for creators at every experience level. Founder Rob Lewis launched the studio after struggling to find an affordable local space to record his own podcast, creating a solution that now serves the broader creative community.
I think these creative spaces are absolutely incredible. There literally is a new one in every business area in town in Dallas. And I think it's great. I think it allows new creators places to engage where they can get comfortable with podcasting quicker. I love the fact that many of them are very acoustically premium setups where they have all of the acoustic tiles. They have wonderful sound systems and speakers. They may also have some incredible video equipment. I think very highly of many of these creator studios, and I think it's a great thing to do. I also think that you can cross-market it to other types of people out there besides podcasters. You can talk to current podcasters, new content creators, but you could also talk to people that need to do voice acting and record it, or maybe someone that is a musician and wants to record in a private space. There are all kinds of different things that you could do to keep your space in the black, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very bullish on this story. I built a theater space for live podcasting, recording, and you're experiencing that right now. We're recording a podcast live, and this is where I really think the future is, and I think they're tapping into something here in Wales. You mentioned every corner in Dallas has a studio or recording space now, which is incredible. I'm waiting for that to come up to the Northeast here, and this is where we're going. It's independent media created by independent content creators that are really pushing the future of media content, media production. And it's this independent studio in Mold. It's this little theater where I'm sitting at in Tarentum. It's all those spaces in Sarah's backyard in Dallas that's making it happen, making the future happen for all these creators out there.
Every one of the co-work spaces has a podcast studio, even if it's small.
It's just a great way to utilize that space, a great way to keep people coming in. And they're going to come in weekly, so your turnover is great. You're going to get people in and out at least 4 times a month.
Exactly.
Well, this one's very businessy. I had trouble understanding everything that's happening in this next story here. This is called The PowerShell Podcast, records live at PSU or PS Conference EU 2026. And the PowerShell Podcast brought its audience directly to PSCon EU by recording a live episode featuring Microsoft Senior Security Research Program Manager Miriam Wisner. While the conversation focused on cybersecurity, Microsoft Team Security, and PowerShell best practices, the episode highlights a growing trend across professional conferences using live podcasts to capture expert discussions, extend the event experience, and make valuable educational content available long after attendees return home.
I think that is a wonderful way to use live podcasting. I have noticed it at all of the meetings and conferences that I've gone to. There is at least one stage that has constant shows where people can lean in and listen. They can engage and ask questions. I think it's a great thing to do. In this particular instance, I love that she is in a tremendous subject matter expert role and is able to share her deep knowledge in the interview. Security is hard, right? And there are a lot of ways that cyber crooks can try to get around the mechanisms that she works hard to engineer in place. And she has a ton of knowledge that she can share. Live podcasts like this also facilitate people being able to hear the detailed knowledge that she's sharing if they have a really full schedule that day. Maybe there are 5 other meetings that they need to go to, but they still want to listen to Miriam later. And so I think this is a great thing to do.
Yeah, you mentioned conferences are leaning into this. They're having dedicated stages.
Yes.
Even the main stage sometimes has a live podcast. I've even started to see the booths, the sponsors who are buying booth space at conferences, they'll say, hey, 3 o'clock, maybe our CEO is going to do a conference, or we're bringing this author who wrote this book who's inspiring our industry. They're going to be here at 3 p.m. We're going to do a live podcast in our booth. Stop by the booth. We got free swag, a bunch of stuff you can try to carry on a plane on your way out of here. And we're going to do a live show, a live recording. And
that's great.
Like what they're doing here, they're recording that and then taking that, after the event, and they're using that as a media asset to distribute to their fans, to their email list, to their social media, and they're creating content on the showroom floor, just building that credibility and putting in all that current event information to share with all the FOMOs out there who, the people who missed out because they couldn't go. Now they're going to get a taste of it, and that may help actually propel sales for next year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it may increase Miriam's followers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's another way, that's another win-win situation. Miriam is going to get a whole new audience from the podcast.
That's right.
And here we go. This one sounds more like me. The Doers Summit in 2026 brought together founders, investors, entrepreneurs, and technology leaders for 2 days of innovation and collaboration. Alongside interactive exhibits, workshops, and keynote presentations, the event also included the recording of the special Doers Summit podcast episode featuring SportSoft CEO Ludmila Marokina. I think I'm pretty close on that one. While the summit showcased emerging technology and creative marketing, the inclusion of a live podcast demonstrates how conferences continue to embrace podcasting as another way to capture expert conversations and extend the impact of an event beyond the attendees in the room.
Yes, well, you definitely want to do this. This is really great. It makes a ton of sense, and it collects rich material for clips and media and press kits and website enrichment. Like, I just think this is an excellent way for, let's say, a company that wants to lean in to being on a live podcast and an event. They're going to be able to walk away with incredible marketing material that they can repurpose a ton of ways. You can create all kinds of short segments on key topics and really beef up your marketing just on one live podcast.
And I love it that it's alongside interactive exhibits, alongside workshops, alongside keynote presentations. They're doing a live podcast recording. Right? They're getting that information that Sarah's talking about, but they're part of the event. They're part of the experience, part of the conference, part of the entertainment that the conference is using to sell tickets. So it's how important has podcasting become to these conferences who are using it as the entertainment for some of the time slots during the day.
I would also offer that on the planning side, if the live podcasting stage is on all the time, let's say, whoever's organizing the event, I do hope that they are thoughtful in planning strategically around what the topics are that are going to be covered, who the guests are that are going to be there at different times of the day, and what kinds of questions would be asked over the course of the day, so it all hangs together.
So the person has to book out that schedule. Sometimes there's different tracks, and maybe one podcast episode falls into a marketing track or an engineer track or security track. And when there's a break in that track, that's kind of where you want to slip in those live podcasts, those special events. And you got to figure out how to make it work for your guests and deliver the best experience. And I would love coming out of a session and all of a sudden there's all this hype in the corner going on at this other stage because somebody that I follow in the industry is really going off and sharing these nuggets, sharing this information, sharing this knowledge, and the audience is going crazy because they just came out of a session, they're all pumped up, and now they're getting this added bonus they may not have expected.
Yeah, I've really, on this particular event, I love how it is a complete cross-cultural experience where there are interaction experiences, creative opportunities, technologies included. There's all kinds of real engagement, and being in a situation like that where you can experience so many different things, adding something like a live conversation just adds richness to the overall experience.
Yeah, so much fun. If you get out to a conference in an industry that you're passionate about, learning about something that you're curious about, take note to all these little side events that are happening. A lot of them now are podcasts. So if you love podcasting and you're going to an event about something that you're passionate about, look for those little nuggets. They're not always the main feature, but they're there and they're happening more and more. And if you're in an industry and you're starting to become somebody in industry, reach out to the conference. You could be that podcast at the conference, up on that little side stage, sharing your show with the attendees.
That is a great idea. I have a friend that has done that before, and I need to think about that, where I could do that.
We'll get Sarah up on stage I'm going to be announcing a conference in about 2 days, so I'll be reaching out. Your phone will be ringing.
Oh, you never know.
This goes by so fast. I always have so much fun. You believe we did 40 minutes already of live podcasting about live news, recorded live. And this is the part of the show. One last time, I like to turn the floor over, give Sarah the floor. One last time, you can plug, promote, talk about anything you'd like, Sarah. The floor is yours.
Gosh, I would love for people to take a look at my course. I'm super excited about the quality of the course and the opportunity for clients to learn how to do the work of leading change and reduce the amount of money that they spend on expensive consultants long term. I have complete confidence that the course will add value for you and your team. And if you still needed support after taking the course, clearly I'm open to that conversation. But I feel really very excited about the prospects of my Mastering Change Management course, changing the game for people that want to learn how to lead change.
And I'll have those links in the show notes on the page. Make sure you follow Sarah. Check out the podcast, Transformational Thinkers, as well. Some great interviews on that podcast. Sarah, do you remember what time it was?
It was party time.
What time is it? What time is it?